I've been
unmasked.
unmasked. Welcome to the show.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's been a minute since
Yeah.
we've at all connected. I think the last time we saw or hung out or talked or anything was when DJ was trying to do his little pilot thing for his show.
Yep. I remember that.
Yeah.
Good time.
So what have you been up to? I see that you've been working a lot. So actually, before we get into what you've been up to and everything,
Yeah.
for those who don't know who you are, I'm not going to give you an introduction. I'm going to let you kind of give yourself an introduction. So however you would like to be introduced, whatever accolades that you want to announce about yourself, whatever kinds of things that you want to say as an introduction, I want you to act like you're being presented in front of a bunch of people. What would you say and how would you introduce yourself?
So I am a former collegiate basketball player. I almost went professional and all that good stuff, and now I'm an actor. I started acting post pandemic when everything shut down. I started streaming video games and all that good stuff. And as I was streaming, I was like, I'm building a community. They're asking for me to start to make these TikToks, and I'm like, I don't want to make TikTok. I don't know. I don't dance. So like, what I'm supposed to do?
Yeah.
So I caved, of course, and I started making these TikToks. And then TikTok turned into another thing. It's like, okay, he can actually do a little something here. He's somewhat funny. And then, lo and behold, became an actor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, former collegiate basketball player, actor. So that's how you would kind of introduce yourself then?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So, originally you wanted a career like in the NBA, correct?
Yeah. I would just want to be a professional. I wanted to be a professional basketball player, playing at a high level. It was interesting. Like you competing every single day in and day out, and really showcasing what you can do. And of course, you have that exposing another player and all that good stuff. So it was fun. It was competitive. It was fun, and like I did enjoy it.
What do you mean by exposing another player?
Yeah. So like say for instance you come into the gym and someone's, supposed to be that guy or like a decent or ranked player.
Okay.
In the country and you see them, it's like, yo, I want to compete against the best. You go against LeBron James, like I may not win, but he's going to see what I can do. So
Right.
you go in and you really want to put your best foot forward and kind of show those guys like what you could do.
Right.
And that's that exposing, because if you win or if you do your thing and they don't show up, then you have all those viewers, all those people watching. It's like, yo, I just did my thing on LeBron or whoever it is, So that's that exposing factor where it's like, okay, I got it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're the second person that's been on here that was former basketball, now turned actor.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, everyone has their own career paths and stuff, but what was it about basketball for you that really clicked? Because I know you have family in basketball, right?
Yeah. So my dad, he played in the NBA for the Celtics.
Wow. Okay.
Yep, he played way back when. So he played against like Jordan, Kobe.
Wow.
You can see the pictures and all that stuff on the internet. He played against all those guys back in the day. Shaq. He was teammates with Paul Pierce. A little bit after Larry Bird for sure, but he was like with Larry Bird would come to his practice, and there's photos with him and Larry in practice and all that good stuff. So yeah, just growing up with the basketball background, it just kind of just clicked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if your dad wasn't in the NBA, do you think you would still have that ambition to want to play basketball, or do you think it's because you're kind of following in your father's footsteps a little bit?
Yeah. Good question. So yeah, I would for sure still play. Because what my parents did, they kind of put me and all my siblings in every sport. So we played soccer, baseball, all that growing up. So that way we had the option to choose what we wanted to play, what was more fun for us. So So yeah, I would have for sure still hooped.
And it was basketball that
Bas-
you really kind of stuck with and stuff.
Yep, basketball
Okay.
is the one.
So growing up, the son of an NBA player, like I couldn't imagine what that would have been like. Obviously, like your dad probably had the money. You probably grew up in a lifestyle that was probably more extravagant than normal kids. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, there it was. So I got a mix of both worlds.
Okay.
So my parents they separated at a young age. So like while he was in the NBA, they did separate. They both end up dating outside of each other because they were no longer together. So I lived a normal, like the middle class sort of life, middle class, and then also lived a rich life during the summer. So it was just one of those things where I was used because we lived on the same street as Shaq. We lived on the same street. He lived right down the street. We would always drive by in the summers because I would visit my dad in the summer, and we would drive by and you would see his roof of his house on the other side of his gate, and that house ended up on MTV Cribs with a blue roof. That like, he lived on my dad's street. So man. It's one of those things where we were used to hanging out with other kids that were in the NBA. So when we start school, it's like, oh, your dad's not in the NBA? Like we thought it was normal. It's just like one of those things. But yeah, we lived both lives, like being rich and middle class. So and really it's it was fun, but you learn a lot.
Yeah.
You learn a lot from that.
So with having that kind of separation of lives, was it hard to adjust back and forth of going from a life, like you said, you were going to school with other kids in the NBA. And so when you were going to school with kids without parents in the NBA and stuff, and it was like, oh, what? Your dad doesn't play for this team, or your dad doesn't know this, and like, was it a hard adjustment between the two?
So in the summers we would hang around like other kids whose parents were. But yeah, during the regular school year, I don't know. As we got older, we kind of kept it a secret the best we could, because most people wouldn't know that our dad played in the NBA. You just wouldn't know because he wasn't the franchise player or a big name person.
Gotcha.
So most people wouldn't know that unless you like Google it or something like that. You wouldn't know. So
or like you were a diehard Boston fan.
Exactly. Now if we lived in Boston, then it would be a different story. But yeah, it was a easy adjustment from switching from like summertime hanging out, skateboarding, doing all this other stuff that we wouldn't normally do.
Yeah.
To going back home to Kentucky, and you're seeing your parents are oh okay it's normal, like it was just like like a normal life. But as we got older, I didn't really tell many people. Only people that would probably know is the basketball players.
Yeah.
And that's only if they asked. I wouldn't even say anything at my high school or
middle
school or anything.
A specific reason why you would, like, were you afraid of getting judged in a certain way, or just never something that came up?
By the adults would judge, and like even though I'm a kid, they don't think that I would understand.
Yeah.
That they're like looking at me a certain way, like, oh, you're not as good as your dad, or whatever the case may be. Because I sucked in high school. I sucked. No matter how much I want to believe that I was like good, I sucked. Yeah. But as far as like the players, I didn't want them to, or even students or people my age, I didn't want them to look at me as a dollar sign or he has money, because I don't. That's my dad's money. That's his life. That's not mine. So I didn't want other people to look at me in a certain way, like, oh, I was a charity baby or Disney baby, a Disney kid. So I didn't want people to look at me a certain way. Just treat me normal.
That's definitely, I get that, because a lot of times, even if like people don't understand how to separate that, I feel like especially when it comes to kids of actors or kids of regular athletes, especially if it's not someone that lives with them full time. I mean, I still know that there's a lot of professional athletes out there that's like even Steve Harvey. He was like, yeah, my kids ain't getting anything of mine. You kidding me? Like, they have to work just as hard. They're not just gonna be like, oh yeah, here's $1 million because you're my kid.
Yep.
And I haven't really met kids of athletes or kids of any kind like that. I wasn't surrounded at all by people like that. So it's hard for me to kind of like, there were definitely kids of very wealthy families, especially at the high school I grew up in. And for them, Yes, it was very much like you'd see them with the gold watches and stuff, and like second 16th birthday comes in, you know whose Mustang that is outside, you
Yep.
know whose Charger that is, or different things like that. So you kind of make that association a little bit, but especially for someone that was in your situation to where it's like, oh, I only see my dad part time, and his money is his. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, he's not gonna let you starve. He's not gonna be like, oh, well,
Yeah.
this is my money. This has
Yeah.
nothing to do with you. But he's probably not out here buying you a Rolls Royce for your birthday, you
Exactly.
know.
Exactly.
So with having all that, then, 'cause- so what was your, because you were living with your mom most of the time, right?
Yeah.
Like about like 9 months out of the year. What was she
Yeah.
doing?
So my mom, she was a trooper. She pretty much did everything for us. A lot of the time, because of course she has more time with us.
Yeah.
So she would take us to practice. She worked for the school system, so she would work in my middle school. She would also do like all sorts of different things. But she was a hard worker. Like she would work her 2 jobs if she needed to, or whatever the case may
Yeah.
be. But taking me from practice to games to out here in Arizona they call it club ball, but on the East Coast it's AAU. So for AAU games and all that stuff, like there's games, and then there's not just me. There's two of my younger brothers that are also doing this. So you're just driving us from back and forth constantly, weekly. Yeah, she held it down for sure when it came to sports. Like she made sure, like if we wanted to do it, we're going all in. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So with seeing that from your mom, then, what do you think are the biggest things that you learned from both your mom and your dad that were the biggest influences in how you are today?
My mom kind of instilled like even though she never talked about it, just watching her and how she operated
Mm-hmm.
was more of like the don't like give up attitude, like the no quit attitude. She kind of instilled that on me, like subconsciously,
Yeah.
because just watching her do it. And then my dad, me and him, it's more of like let's see, it's more of like one of those things where because he was successful,
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning to this day, like I'm learning right now, like how to carry myself in a successful way, because he's taught me something that normally most people don't know. And that's when you move out, say you move out of your hometown, which I did. I moved out of Kentucky 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And now when you go back, everyone is different.
Mm.
And it's not necessarily that they're different, you're different. So they look at you in a different light.
Yeah.
They may see you differently because you've changed, but you also view them differently because they're the same. So their mind and how they, are moving is completely different than how you are now. So they can't necessarily treat you the same. So it's why it's a rough spot to be in, especially if you're alone. And I
Yeah.
learned that a lot from my dad.
Well, especially because I imagine. So, did he have to move to Boston after he got drafted to the Celtics?
Yeah, so he lived in Boston. So he met my mom in Louisville, Kentucky, where I'm from. That's where they both went to college at the University of Louisville. And then when he got drafted, he moved to Boston. And then so he was living there for a while. And then when his career ended and all that stuff, we lived in Florida. So all those summers I would live in Orlando, where I would visit him. But yeah, and he never moved back home, similar to me. He most recently moved back after I don't know how many years, to coach in his hometown.
Oh, he's back in Kentucky now.
No, he's back in Georgia. That's where he's originally from.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, he was recruited on a full ride to Louisville, Kentucky, and that's when he met my mom. But yeah, he's
Oh,
from Georgia.
dang.
Yeah.
Have you been back to Georgia to see like where he's from?
Oh no. Sorry everybody. But no, I have not been. I think the last time I was in Georgia, in his part of town, had to at least been like 2012, 13.
Oh, dang.
And then before that, it was probably when I was a little kid. So
Okay.
yeah, I don't really go to his hometown as often.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all right. I don't think I've been to either of my parents' hometown. No, I've been to my dad's hometown back in New York, But
New York.
yeah, my dad's from New York. Well, he's originally from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
But then all of my family's up in upstate New York, so I went to New York, and then my mom's side of the family is California. So
Okay.
completely different sides of the coast and stuff.
Yeah.
So I've been to kind of a little bit of both. So in this transition, then, when spending summers with your dad, and during the week or during the year with your mom, lots of kind of adjusting between Boston and Kentucky, then, because those are very different places as far
Yeah.
as I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Was that a lot of adjusting as well?
Not too much, because like as a kid, like I can't really remember too much in Boston. There's a few like pictures of me at the games and like in the locker room and all that stuff.
Okay.
Growing up, but I can't really remember too much. But because the weather is like almost the same. I mean, obviously we don't get as much snow as Boston,
Right.
but like we get all those different seasons that they get. It's just the buildings are a little bit older.
Yeah.
Which I would love to visit Boston like now, but I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, me too.
Just to see like some of the culture and like their architecture and all that good stuff. So that'll be cool.
Yeah.
But yeah.
For reference, the reason why I'm saying that is because it is ungodly hot here in Phoenix right now. It's getting up to like almost 120 already, and it's August or not? It's not. No, it's not August
July,
yet.
almost August.
Yeah, it's almost August, so it's still July, and we're hitting like record-breaking heat waves right now. So it is ungodly hot outside.
Meanwhile, I got a long sleeve on.
I know. You're over here with the sweater and everything. How are you not just dead with that?
I'm that guy. I'm just saying.
You are that guy. You're that guy that'll pop in anywhere, still with like the fluffy coat, and it's like 110 degrees and stuff.
I'm pulling up. I'm pulling up as is.
Heck yeah. Okay, so I'm curious about your basketball career then. So you obviously played for a while, I'm guessing like in high school and everything, and then at the collegiate level. Where and why did your career stop?
Okay. So I ended my career, technically ended in 2018. That's where I kind of hung up the shoes. So I was played at Northwestern Oklahoma State. It was a Division II school in Alva, Oklahoma. Go Rad Rangers ride. That's my alma mater. I love y'all. But yeah, it was interesting. I signed with the agent. The agent really didn't do anything for me. And then after that, I was under contract for 2 years with him. So from 2018 to COVID. And then I was like, you know what? I'm only getting older at this point. There's no need to keep chasing a dream that's probably not going to happen, because if it hasn't happened now. And at that time, I was 25 years old. Like I graduated college at 25 because I, obviously dropped out of college for 2 years. And worked at a physical therapy clinic. But then when I picked everything back up, it's like, I'm 25 years old now. I was 24 when my last season happened, and I was like, you know what? This last semester of college, I'm going to go ahead and get my degree. So got my degree, and then COVID hits in 2020. Agent hasn't really pulled any strings for me to get me any looks. I mean, I shot 50% from 3 on the year. I put up whatever stats. He actually reached out to me and wanted to, represent me. So I was like, okay, if he's doing all the the heavy lifting just to get my attention, then I'm pretty sure he'll look out for me moving forward. But it is what it is. But yeah, I just went ahead and just canceled it at 2018.
And it's not a thing to where you can kind of just be like, you know what, like, you're not doing anything for me, I'm cutting this contract now, and then try to look for another agency. Like those 2 years, you have to be with them for 2 years.
Yep, exactly. So what'll happen is if I were to sign with another agency, I would have to pay both. And as a rookie, with a rookie contract, typically you're not getting paid that much, especially overseas. So if you're a rookie, 25. I'm 25 at the time, rookie, and then if I have 2 agents, both of them are taking most of all of my money at this point.
Yeah.
I'm already not making anything. I'm better off at McDonald's or, a fast food joint to make more money than what I would have been making overseas.
Wow.
So it's like it's a waste of time and money.
So when you're talking to your agent then, are you trying to tell him like, hey, like, why am I not getting anything? Like, I see this agent over here is getting my boy on the team this, and like this person's getting this. Like, how do we get things going? Like, did you ever have conversations like that with him to see why he wasn't doing his job?
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, I never really, even to this day, I never really compare myself to like others,
Okay.
their success and like what they have going on, just because everyone's like road is a little different.
Right.
Everyone's journey is different. Like with my agent, for instance, in that particular case, there was a guy. His name is his last name's Tappan. I won't say his first name. He knows who he is. But he went to a rival school. He went to Henderson State, which is in our same conference.
Okay.
So me and him we have the same like athletic build. We're legit the same player. Like
Right.
if you look on paper, we're the same exact player. And he signed with that same agent. He went overseas. He's getting pushed forward. But it's for me. It's like, okay, if he's doing that for him, and I'm the same exact player, and he's not doing that for me, then that just means it's something on his end that he's not doing.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that, because I've had ample opportunities to move forward with it. After this, actually before acting, I was proposed with an opportunity to play professional overseas.
Really?
Yeah. My dad, he brought it up to trying to get me to play overseas and things like that, and he could help. But it was just one of those things where at the end of the day, I'm only getting older. I'm not getting any younger.
Right.
I'm not gonna be able to run up and down the court like LeBron 20 years later. so it's one of those things. I would much rather just start my life moving forward with something else that's gonna fulfill me, as well as fill my pockets and my life and get me taken care of for the long run, versus something that's gonna be a quick buck and then now you're back to square one.
Yeah. I feel like the process of actually going pro in any sport, let alone basketball, is so much more than people really understand. Because, I mean, obviously from outside, I'm not a huge sports guy. I'll fully admit to that. I never grew up watching sports. The only sport that I ever really participated in and loved and watched and everything was baseball. That was my sport. Baseball was my sport. But even that, like, I played once in Little League, and then I've played like off and on in little other random leagues. I was going to play in high school, but my high school was way too expensive to play any sports, so I just didn't. My family was poor as crap, so I didn't have that opportunity. So for me, the whole thing behind sports, making careers out of it, that's a whole like foreign type of ordeal for me. But like from an outside perspective of someone who doesn't know, I mean, for me, it just sounds like you play sports, you go to college, you play there, you get noticed, and then you get drafted. But then there's a whole other, like, I played at NBA 2K for the first time like 2 years ago, and it was I think it was like 2K20 or 2K21.
Okay.
And just to give it a shot, I have a buddy of mine that plays it like nonstop, and so I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot and see. Like, I'm not a huge basketball player, but maybe I'll learn a thing or two, or maybe I'll finally find some sort of storyline game that I can follow and be part of this little fad or something, or just learn what this fad is.
Yeah.
So I played it. I didn't realize of how much business analytics and how much shit like that goes into a career. Like, obviously, when you're following that career in 2K. I don't know how realistic it is, but I imagine it's pretty realistic.
It's close.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's close. Because, for instance, like last year, I hit Legend on 2K.
Okay.
So Legend is pretty much the highest tier. That means you've of course established yourself as like an advanced player amongst those everyone else online. So with 2K, that's actually what started me acting.
Really?
2K started it all.
Really?
Yeah.
Like just streaming it or like wanting to be in it?
So it was streaming it. So I streamed 2K. And I had a huge following, a big community. I get paid from Twitch and all that good stuff.
Really?
Yeah. And a lot of my viewers in my community, they were like the whole TikTok thing, and I was like, man, I just can't do that. So I can't. I don't dance. Like, I don't dance. I'll do whatever else. I'll try to make something happen. So then I'm start making these little skits instead on TikTok from 2K. So it would be all these little scenarios of, oh, your girlfriend's in the other room, and like you turn on the Xbox at 2-3 o'clock a.m. PM or whatever, and she doesn't want you to play. All these different like skits I would do, and they're still on there too. They're still on my TikTok, and and then her going off on me and all that stuff or whatever. I would just like copyright someone's voice, yelling at me in the background because my girl's probably at work or whatever happens or whatever. So yeah, and I had a decent amount of views and all that stuff from that. And then when I went to LA, because my dad moved, he lived in China for years. He lived in Dubai. He lived in Netherlands. He was always there because he worked for the NBA Cares and program and all that good stuff. So, coaching and doing his thing. So when he lived in Burbank, LA, and Burbank, California. And when I went to visit him right before, I think it was like 2020, towards the end of 2020, or beginning of 2021, I came back, went to visit him, and I showed him my TikToks and all that stuff around the time when he was trying to get me to play, basketball again, or seeing if I wanted to do it. And he was like, you should probably become an actor. Like, you ever thought about that? And I was like, no, I don't want to be an actor. Like, it never crossed my mind. Like, no, why would I want to do that? I don't know. I mean, I love movies like everybody else, but I was like, I don't know about all that.
Yeah.
And then, so then we're driving around. He's taking me places, showing me around his neck of the woods, and I was looking at all these billboards and all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I want to be an actor. Like, it was like within like 2 days of me being there for that weekend, I was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, what do I have to do? And then he introduced me to Andrew Powell. And then Andrew Powell. He's on the show Gotham. Okay. He plays Solomon Grundy, as well as Butch Galzine, my man, Drew, my man. And then also a few producers that he knew in Burbank, and I was told what to do. Came back. I started acting class, number 1 acting class, and then from there just head down, just moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you've had some pretty big accolades, especially in the short time. Like, you've only been doing it for going on 3 years now, it sounds like. Then.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's not like you're not Leonardo DiCaprio level, but
yeah.
You've landed some pretty big stuff. I mean, I saw you in the Jimmy John's commercial, which, like, to some people it might not be the biggest thing, but like even to an actor to land something like that, and especially to have like speaking roles in something and be kind of like the main person in something like that. I mean, there's a lot of competition for something like that.
Yeah, they so for instance, like the Jersey Mike's, we.
Oh, that's right. No, Jersey, not Jimmy John's, Jersey Mike's.
Yeah, Jersey Mike's. No, you're good. So, like, for Jersey Mike's, it was one of those things where I at that time, I was also working for Progressive. So, when it was funny because for the audition, I had an audition, like, same day. I was, like, working, like, my call center job, I was working. And I was like, I have an audition today. So I put in my little PTO for like a 2-hour block. Because, auditions, you come in, it's like 10 minutes, maybe max, and then you're gone. Like, maybe not even 10 minutes, like five minutes. You're sitting in the room waiting longer than you actually are auditioning. So I was like, okay, 2 hours, that should give me enough time because I'm driving from Chandler all the way to Scottsdale.
Oh, shit.
So I was like, okay, 2 hours would be fine. I feel like 2 hours would be a good enough window. That way I can get back to work. So I drive all the way to Scottsdale, do the audition. PTO's good. I drive all the way back home. As soon as I get home, I'm clocking back to work, and they called me. Jersey Mike's called me that day, and they said, "Hey, Greg, can you come back?" And I was like, right now? They was like, yeah, like come back right now. And I was like, Yeah. I'll be there right now. And I put another hour, like my last PTO hour ever. Drove back there, and like I had my callback the same day.
Really?
Yeah, had my callback the same day, and then I drove back home, and then they told me I got it, like 2-3 days later, and then we were shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you still working that Progressive job?
Nope. After I shot the Jersey Mikes, that's when I left. That's when I left Progressive.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so are you full time now acting?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, full time.
And have you had jobs since then that have been able to like keep up with pay, or has it just been like that one commercial kind of just kept you afloat?
No. I've done a few commercials. I did a Cold Stone commercial not too long ago. Of course, I have a TV series coming out here soon. We're about to start shooting that middle of August, going into September. No finalized date when we'll start shooting, but in between that time frame. I've shot a few commercials. I work as a fit model as well for a big golf company here in the Valley. Big company. Yeah, I'm a fit model, so they size my body to all their clothes.
Dang. So for those who are trying to kind of get into this industry more, for someone who's like brand new, who has no idea where to start and stuff, who is basically where you were at, what advice would you give them to kind of jumpstart their career a little bit and point them in the right direction?
Yeah, I would tell them for sure. Really decide like what you're doing, what you want to do, because if you wanna become an actor or a model or whatever the case is, you have to be willing to do it for free.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not willing to do something for free, then it's not for you, because this business, this entity of art that we're trying to perform, or what we do, it's not for the faint-hearted. And if you're doing it for money, you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Right.
So I would say really figure out what you want to do. Don't quit. And if it's acting, take acting classes.
Interesting. How long until you were assigned to your first agency?
I signed with my agent, I think 6 months into acting. 6 months into acting, I signed with my agent. I just wanted to make sure that I was comfortable.
Yeah.
And like with what I can bring at that time, I was like, you know what? I feel like I've learned quite a bit within this 6 months period. I'm gonna put my best foot forward, and we're just gonna do it. I made sure my photographer, his name was Tony Taft. He was New York Times. I paid handsomely, and it's well worth it, because I always feel like if you're gonna do something, do it the right way.
Right.
Never really take a shortcut. So if finances aren't there, save it. Make sure that the finances are there before you spend a little bit here, just because now you have it. But you could have gotten it way better if you would have just saved it. So that way you can go the extra mile and make sure that it's perfect. So then I did that. Before I got my agent, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get these professional headshots by a professional, not my friend that have the camera. No, so let's make sure it's professional.
Yeah.
And then from there, took my acting classes. I have my acting classes under my belt. I have a little bit of, not experience, but I have a little bit of like hours. I have some hours under my belt from going to class after not knowing anything. So I have some hours. I have a professional headshot, and let's see what we can do. And yeah, that's how it all worked.
What was the process of getting signed like for you? Because I know a lot of agencies, they want to see previous experience and previous work. And when you signed your first agency, you didn't have like a demo reel and all that kind of stuff, right? Or did you?
No, I didn't have anything. It was just one of those things where my agent, she put a lot of trust in me, really. I sent her, because it's also the type of like way I carry myself in a professional manner.
Mm-hmm.
So she was like, I would like, you have a good look, based off my photos. Like I really sent her top of the line photos of myself.
Gotcha.
And then I also sent, a a resume which wasn't, you know, that good. It wasn't like stacked with movies, or haven't done any films or anything like that. And she wanted to see what I was capable of. And she so in my first encounter with my agent, it was, okay, let's see an improv scene. I want you to improv, and I also want you to read, you know, for me for this commercial.
Right.
So then I'm doing that, and she's like, oh. And then, you know, the improv scene was actually, I made her laugh, you know, things like that. It's like, okay, you can make me laugh. We're watching you, you know. So I did that, and it was all was well there. And then she's like, you know what, I'm gonna, you know, of course it was like recorded.
Yeah.
So she's like, I'm gonna send it to the rest of the team, and, you know, we'll see what happens.
So this is all like over a Zoom call or something then?
Yeah. So the commercial, that one was like actually self-tape.
Okay.
And then the other one, was on the Zoom. Yep.
Interesting. Okay. And then, so did you find her, or did she find you? I found
her.
And what was it about her that you decided, this is who I want to try to go for as my representation?
Yeah. So for her, it was, so I did my research. I went home around that time when I was searching for agents, and I just went to Google. And like, I really looked through like each review, because like from basketball, my agent didn't do anything for me. So I was like,
so you have that previous experience of not being represented, right?
Exactly. So I was like, I don't want to fail like that again.
Yeah.
And if I'm gonna do it, I need to do it the right way. It has to be the right way. So I looked through like the reviews. I also looked through plenty other, you know, prospects and agents, you know, around the valley, and I was like, this one, it says like they've been around the longest. They've been around the longest. So for them to have been around this long, and it is 2021 or 2020, they're established.
They're doing something right.
Then okay, and then I'm looking at some reviews like, oh, this and that. And I'm like, oh, well, it happens. Well, maybe they weren't that good. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then so just, you know, comparing apples to apples, I was like, this one might be the best. This one might be the best one. At least for me. I don't know about anybody else, but for me, this one might be the best one in Arizona. So I was like, okay, I'm going to reach out to them. And for some reason, if they don't respond, I reached out to 2 other agencies, and tough luck for them. They didn't respond back, so they missing out.
Yeah.
But I'm like really, really happy with where I'm at.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that you finally, because a lot of people, especially when it would come to that representation thing, with the past track record that you had with agencies, going into another career to where you have to be represented usually, like obviously, yes, there's some actors that can make it without being represented and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But it does get to a certain point in your career, you have to have a team behind you. You can't be doing everything by yourself, especially if you do want to boost your career to that next level. You can't just be like, all right, I'm just going to do all this myself. There's a reason why the top of the top don't do this alone. They have to have managers. They have to have talent representation. They have to have this. They don't just do it by themselves. And so going from one career that you have to have someone representing you, to another career to where you still have to have that, being able to put that trust, like, all right, I was screwed over before, but I'll try it again. I'll see. Maybe it's just that one person. Like, it takes a lot of trust factor to be able to be like, you know what, we'll try this again. We'll see how it goes. Yeah. Absolutely. So a big thing for me as well is humanizing and talking about the stuff that makes us human. So I'm sure you've had some low points in your life. I'm sure life hasn't always been all sunshine and rainbows for you and stuff, and all this other kind of stuff. What are some things about you that you wish people knew more about?
I wish people knew that I'm really cutthroat. You know, I'm a hard worker, and like I'm not antisocial, but like I have like a sense of like a Mamba mentality, right? Like I really do. And
Yeah.
it's mainly because of basketball. Like basketball, like instilled that into me. Because like if I see somebody walk in the gym and they look like they're good, oh, it's on. Like I'm like.
You got the alpha complex.
When we leave the gym, like they're gonna know they're not gonna walk in the way they walk. You know, they're not gonna walk out.
You
the way
want to
they
put
walk
them
in
in their place a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. So it's like one of those things. Like I keep to myself. You know, I like to, you know, of course, help people with whatever they need help with. Like I do, but at the same time, I stick to myself. You know, I'm off the grid most of the time. You know, I just, you know, stick to myself, do what I need to do, and yeah.
What about stuff that people don't already know? Like stuff that you know that you probably keep under wraps a little bit, but you kind of wish was known more about you than what they probably do know.
That's a good one. I'd say that for sure. Like when it comes, cause I get down when it comes to being away from home. Being away from home for so long, it takes a toll. Cause like I was mentioning earlier, it's like one of those things when you know you come home and everyone's not the same.
Yeah.
It's really lonely. It's really lonely. So like that's why like I'm, you know, my girlfriend, she's like my rock, cause if it wasn't for her, like I would be home. There was no,
Yeah.
like I stay here, but it's like one of those things where it's like when you move out and you expand your horizons for yourself, and it's like you feel like a personal growth.
Yeah.
Like if you were to, you know, live in a different country or a different state from wherever you're located for so long, you go back, it's like you see the same people and they're in the same spot. It's like a time zone. You know, they're stuck in a time zone, like a time loop.
Yeah.
And they're doing the same thing that they were doing when you left. And it's like, I've learned so much, and you try to tell it to them, and they'll hear you for a second, and then they go back to their time loop. They're stuck. So that's a lonely place to be in, and that's why me and my dad connect a lot, because he understands that. He understands. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. What about kind of the opposite? What are some things that people talk about or know about you that you wish was a little bit more under wraps?
That was an actor.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why's that?
Because like there's a few things, which is cool. I like being an actor. I like sometimes like it's cool when it's recognized. And obviously I'm not big where it's like, oh, I can't go anywhere. I can go anywhere. People won't know me at all.
Right.
But it's more of like the inner circle folks that it kind of concerns. 'Cause it's like, oh, if my mom or a family member posts, you know, my acting, it's like, oh, now I have a whole bunch of mystery cousins, or it's like, no, I don't know you.
Yeah.
You know, just because you see me in one commercial or whatever,
Yeah.
doesn't make us, you know, now we're best friends. It's like it's yeah.
Do you worry that would get amplified later on? Because I know that's definitely it. That does tend to be a big issue for a lot of people, especially when they do get big in a career like this. They get random people coming up like, hey, I don't know if your mom told you, but we're related. Like, can you help me out? Or getting asked about this. Like, because it's obviously it's at that now, but it only gets bigger.
Yeah, it's only going to get
the bigger that you get.
Yeah.
Is that something that you think would stop your career at all? Or do you think that you would just keep?
Yeah, I'll keep going for sure. It's just one of those things. I'm really cutthroat. Like,
yeah.
It's messed up as sound. I don't really care.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you're, you know, I'm not gonna hand you out anything. Like, I work for this.
Yeah.
You know, if you want something, you have to work for what you want.
Right.
So, you know, there's no handouts for sure, because no one's handing me out anything.
Yeah.
Like what? Like, I just put in the hard work. Of, you know, you did your 40 hours a week, but that TV show I'm about to shoot is gonna be. I can only imagine how many hours I'm about to put in a week. You know what I mean? So it's like we had like for like the teaser, I think that was a total of, you know, within 2 days, 2 days of shooting, I probably did, four, no, 15, 16, 16 hours in 2 days. So in the second day was the really the long one. The other day, the first day, that one was mainly just sitting around half the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, like there's no handouts, and don't mind. It gets a little annoying, but I don't mind. I don't mind it at all.
Going back to the lowest point that you can remember, with all the experience, all the lessons, everything that you've learned up to date, if you could visit that you back then, what would you tell yourself to pull yourself out?
I would tell myself what Denzel Washington said. He said that picture yourself on your deathbed, right? So picture yourself on your deathbed. There's 3 versions of yourself that have not happened. There's 3 alternate realities of yourself that are surrounding you. One, he's an NBA player. The other one, it's you and your future kid. And the other one, he may be a banker. He may be a real estate agent. He may be something where it's like he's financially stable. He's okay. He is good in life. So if you picture yourself on your deathbed, and those are your 3 only alternatives for the rest of your life that never happen, how would you feel? That's what kind of I look at life today. It's like if I don't do this, my future self is gonna regret it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to live with a regret that I could have been something great. So I just want to keep my head down, do the work, and be ready when they call.
And do you think that would be able to kind of pull you out of that rut when you were at your lowest?
Mm-hmm. Because that right there it's like a wake up call. Because it's like, if you don't do this, guess who won't be here? Me.
So is the real estate agent stuff, is that like the path that you didn't want to take? And that's like
it's the path that didn't make it, because you're on your deathbed. So if you're put it this way, if you close your eyes and you're literally like you're in your coffin, and when you open your eyes, you see 3 versions of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
One's an NBA star, the other one's a real estate agent, and the other one is you with your future kid. Now it's none of those happened. They didn't even make it. They never were manifested. They didn't happen because you failed. How are you gonna feel? They're all looking at you like, dang.
So that's 3 completely separate lives.
Because those are 3 things you could have done.
Oh, so it's not chasing any one of those and just choosing to just say screw it to all of those.
Yeah, like say for instance, if you doing you're working a job right now that you don't love.
Yeah.
You're just wasting all your energy, you're wasting all your time. You're wasting your family's time. Now, because you didn't choose the life that you wanted, now you never met that. Now you never met your love of your life. Like if I would have never moved from Kentucky, I would have never met the love of my life, and I probably would never have a kid, because I didn't meet the girl that I needed to meet, because I stayed in Kentucky. Vice versa. I started real estate school in 2016. It was an accelerated course, but I didn't finish it. I never finished taking the test. So that's already one life X'd out. That's one multiverse.
Yeah.
That's already gone. It's already crossed out because I never finished. Basketball is already canceled because I never completed it. So now what is my alternative? Because if I die now, those alternatives are gonna be looking down at me like, you messed up. You didn't complete the journey.
But maybe those journeys just weren't meant for you.
Maybe
That one that you are chasing is the one that's meant for you. It's being able to look up and be like, okay, well, I did try to at least pursue those ones. It didn't work out. So I don't even have to feel guilty about not even stepping foot into either of those paths, because I did. they were dead ends for me. I went to this one, and then obviously it continues to branch out and stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely. It's a few ways to look at it.
yeah,
It's just one of those things where it makes you think, not to necessarily like regret
yeah,
or anything like that, but it makes you think like, hey, at the end of the day, what the message is to not give up.
right,
It's not to give up, because if you give up, then now those alternate realities, like when you think about it, like, dang, now they're looking down on you because like, what did you do?
yeah,
What did you accomplish in this life while you were here? And Michael B. Jordan said it too, like when I die, I want to leave a legacy of like, oh, I can still teach, future generations in my family or my kids, generations on. I can still teach them messages in the movies, in the films, in the TV series that I do. I can still teach,
right,
and be in their lives, even though indirectly in their life, I can be there, even, with the years to come, and they can watch me grow. Starting off with me being an extra in a USAA commercial,
yeah,
and then finally get my little SAG eligible little card, and then sign my Taft Hartley, and then go to be an extra in the Chase commercial, and then boom, now I'm in Jersey Mike's, the main guy. They can
yeah.
see that growth of like, okay, like if he can do it, like I can do it too.
Yeah. What's the best piece of advice that you received as a kid that you still apply today to your life?
Best advice, I would say,
Or even not even as a kid, but just overall, the one thing that you consistently have to remind yourself and that you repeat to yourself every single time that you need to.
that I can do it. That's because like it's always been a thing where as the oldest boy, because I have like two little brothers, and I have two older sisters. I have a younger sister as well. But as the oldest boy, it's a lot of pressure because with my dad, to only visit him in the summers and things like that. I was like, I have to be the man. I have to grow up a little bit sooner, and I didn't want anybody to know that I quit or did something that's like, oh, like that's wrong. You shouldn't do that, because I have little brothers that look up to me, even if they don't admit it, they do, or if it's not like in the open light where it's like, oh, I know they look up to me, like I know they do, even if they try to act like they don't.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that I'm a representation of like, if you want something, go get it, because at the end of the day, they would have never known. No one would ever know. I didn't even know that I wanted to be an actor, but now I can do it, and I know I can do it. So at the end of the day, I'd refuse to go home unless it's to visit. I refuse to move back home for like failure.
Yeah.
Because failure is not an option. I refuse to fail.
Do you think you're a good representation of that to your family?
Yeah, for sure. Because at the end of the day, that's the only family I got, and they gonna support me, no matter what happens. So yeah, I can't wait. Max mixtape's it's gonna be real great.
What are you most proud of about yourself?
Most proud of? I'd say I'm really like resilient. Like I've had hardships like everyone. Everyone has their hardships. I've had plenty of them, where it's like, oh, I'm on the borderline of being homeless. I'm on the borderline of having to sleep in my car. There's some nights I can't eat. There's sometimes it's like, oh, I don't have enough, to put enough food on the table, or whatever the case may be. Everyone has those times. Everyone has those moments. But like at the end of the day, I know like God's gonna make a way, like for me.
Mm-hmm.
And literally every time I ask, it happens. Like you just have to ask. So just being resilient and just focusing on what you have to do, because there's certain things you just can't control.
Right.
But you can control what you can control. You just have to focus and stay on the course, and you'll be fine.
Going back to when you were saying that you've had low points, I know it's kind of difficult to kind of talk about them, but I feel like it's something that needs to be expressed a lot more, because especially in today's world, depression's at an all-time high. People are hitting extremely low points, and because it's not talked about enough, and because people don't want to be quote unquote vulnerable and stuff, it's not talked about. And they feel alone. They feel like, oh, I'm the only one that's ever been this low, or they feel that pain of being so low. What have been some of the lowest points, and what was your process of kind of digging yourself back out? Because obviously you're not in that low point anymore. You were able to go down to that low point, figure out how to climb out of that hole, and then bring yourself back up here. So can you kind of go visit a little bit of that?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Especially in today's society, we have like so many, like men are, leading in when it comes to suicide. Men, we have more suicides than women, and in this society, we're taught to, be the macho, be, the guy that cleans the gutters. Not, you just throw anything at him, he'll be okay, he'll be fine,
Right.
And that's not right. But yeah, I've had for sure low points, like I mentioned previously, where it's like, dang, like I don't have enough money to eat. I don't have much, where it's like, dang, if and obviously before I met my girlfriend, it's like, oh, like what am I going to do with my life? Because it's like, okay, if you and that was prior to that happened, where I was really depressed when it came to it was before acting, of course. My girlfriend was involved at that time, but it was like one of those things where basketball ended. I played basketball my entire life. I played it my entire life, and it's over. And it's like, well, what do I do now for the next 40 years of my life, the next 30, 40 years of my life? What am I supposed to do? I don't want to work in the office. I don't want to be a call center. I don't want to work at a call center. I don't want to be a policeman. I don't want to go to the military. I don't want to do any of those things. That's not what I'm interested in. So that was a really dark place that I was in. Not that I was like, by myself. Like my girlfriend, she really came and like stood by me. Like she helped me try to figure out what I want to do. And then of course video games, my girlfriend, my family, everyone kind of like, talk to me constantly, like, oh, how are you doing today? What's going on? My girlfriend was always there. She made sure, we would always grill. I would grill. She would, man the kitchen and do her thing, and it just kind of, it helped a lot. That helped a lot. Just being able to talk to someone who understands. Not that just listens, but understands where you're coming from, because she understood me. When we first started dating, that was my goal. I wanted to go overseas. I wanted to be a professional basketball player. So it was one of those things where she's been there before it even happened. She's been there when I was still in college. As a sophomore in college, she was there. And now she's here X amount of years later, and she helped me through that too. So it's a big thing where male suicides and all that good stuff. Well, not good stuff, but all that stuff happens.
Yeah.
And people need to be more aware of that when they're talking to someone, because you never know what someone's going through. You never know. You never know. I wasn't on the brink of suicide, but I was really, really depressed. And there was a moment, I'm pretty sure everyone knows that every athlete dies twice. I mean, not everyone knows that, but every athlete dies twice. That is a saying, and it is very true. And I didn't really believe it until it happened to me. Every athlete dies twice. And that is just a statement of they play, and when it's over, they die. Because they have nothing else to do. They don't know what they want to do with the rest of their life. And then they die again, obviously, like everyone else.
Interesting. I feel like it's also the same with other careers as well, like not just sports, but like with acting. The second that you decide that you want to retire from acting, that's it. I mean, obviously, people can bring you out of retirement, and there's definitely people that act until they're on their deathbed, but for other people, sometimes it's like they do one show, like take a lot of the cast from Friends. They do that one show, and then they pretty much that's it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not in any other shows. They're not in any other movies. They're not in anything else anymore. That's it. And
Yeah.
so it's almost like they die in a way. They're not
Mm-hmm.
talked about. They're not mentioned. Like, yeah, they might do some interviews and stuff here and there, but they're not in the tabloids anymore. No one gives a shit about who they are anymore.
Yeah, cause it's one of those things. Cause like shows like that, it's like a choice, right? They're making that decision. But when it comes to like a sport, you don't have a decision. You don't have any say. Cause like they could still do something. They could start a podcast. They could create something, special, a TV series or whatever they like. Even the best man, I think it's Best Man Holiday. They just started the movie The Best Man. They have a spin-off TV series from that movie, and that movie was shot a long time ago. But now it's like now they have a spin-off TV series with those same cast.
Yeah.
Like they can still do it. It's just a choice they're making because now, they had, of course, hit syndication and they're getting paid, per episode for the rest of their life. So they don't really have to do anything. Now they can just enjoy the rest of their days doing whatever they want. But when it comes to that sport, if you're not, LeBron James or some big time like millionaire and you've been playing for so many years, that's why you hear like a lot of athletes. If you go to like a gym, if you go to like LA Fitness or wherever, they'll always talk about, especially the older guys, they'll always talk about how they were in high school. I was always this in high school. It's because they're still stuck in that fantasy of how they used to be. Because now they're doing something they don't even love. They don't enjoy. That's why they always bring up high school.
Yeah. No, I definitely see that to where it's someone like you talk to a janitor, or you talk to someone like, yeah, back in my day, I was the king of the world doing this, doing that. And like they have to reminisce back on the memory of where they were at the top of their lives.
Yeah. That was the best moments of their life. And you're like, hey, I'm right there with you.
What's been some of the best moments of your life that you can so far use as like your biggest things? So
one of the best moments would probably be when it was in 2012 to 2013 basketball season. This is one of them. That school, it was my freshman year of college, and we won our conference tournament, and we went to the Final Four of the national tournament. And we, of course, the school didn't have enough money to give us 2 rings, but we did get one. They combined the conference ring and the Final Four championship ring together. That was the biggest moment. Like that was like watching the confetti fall down, and it's like on you, and you're like, you see this stuff on TV. And that was the same year that the University of Louisville won the national tournament, and they tried to take it away from us because of the scandal and all that. But that happening at the same time as, while I just won a championship, that was crazy. And then the second biggest moment I'd say is literally starting acting, because going through that transition of basketball ending, I tried everything. Like I was applying to be a police officer, a truck driver. I started boxing. I started a whole bunch of different things to figure out what is going to fill this void from basketball. And then I'm taking Carla's class at Howie's Acting Studio. I started taking Carla's class for acting. And then I was like, whoa, this it like literally filled the void. Like when I go up and perform and scene study, or even on sets, like I really feel like the feeling that I get is like dunking on somebody.
That's awesome.
No, it really is. Yeah, it's fun.
I remember doing one of the scenes with you. Do you remember that scene that we did together?
Yeah, where I like had to throw you against the wall and stuff.
Yeah, and you did not hold back.
Yeah, to like just throw you around.
Dude, they were like, everyone in the class is like, oh my god, is he okay? And like I was fine, but the one spot, of course, that we chose to do that, there was a nail sticking out of the wall, and
in the corner.
It was like against the wall, like when you were
like right next to the door. Like the prop little room
Yeah,
door.
yeah. And like you shoved me against the thing, and it was right where the only nail in the entire wall was, and like my back
What?
went right into the nail. Yeah, because I was like,
Dang.
my head went back, and I was like, oh wait, why did that hurt so much? And I looked back, and there's a little piece of metal sticking out of the wall. I was like, oh shit! And like the back of my head hit right
It
on
had
that
like a little piece of it.
yeah, I was like, oh shit,
Dang.
ow. I was like, okay, all right.
Dang.
Yeah, I thought I had told you about no.
Uh-uh.
Yeah, and
Oh
then
no.
because I was telling Carla about that, and she's like, yeah, back when she was teaching, I think Patrick Swayze
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
They were doing a scene, and someone threw him against the wall, and there was a nail sticking out, and it went into his shoulder.
Yeah, because he said that she was like, yeah, he threw him, but then Patrick like over exaggerated it.
Yeah,
And then he like really like, yeah.
yeah. So basically,
I'm
what
pretty
happened
sure
to
it was
him
him.
kind of happened to me, and I was like, damn. Of course, I'm the one person that also happens
Dang.
to.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
The last thing I kind of want to get into. What are some of the biggest things that kind of motivate you to keep going, even when everything is telling you not to, when your body's telling you not to, when you get up and you have that just like, I really don't want to do this today and stuff. Like, what kind of stuff do you tell yourself, or what things kind of help drive that factor of just do it, even when you don't want to?
Yeah. I do when I don't want to do something and like it's like, oh, I just gotta do it. I do it for my future kids.
Hmm.
Because obviously, my girlfriend, she's not pregnant or anything. But like I do it for them. Because at one point, and as well as myself, but mainly for them. Because like, your future self is going to thank you for what you did today.
Right.
As well as your kids. So it's like, oh, I mean, this money that, I'm working hard for, this path that I'm going on and I'm working hard for. One day I'm going to have kids, and this is going to help take care of them. Because I'll be fine if I don't eat today. But I can't have my kids starving.
So it's the thought of your future family that drives you today.
Yep, exactly.
That's awesome. I like that a lot. It definitely brings a lot of like selflessness and kind of just shows a certain perspective and stuff. Because I know that there's definitely a lot of days that I have that I'm like, I really don't want to fucking do this today.
Mm-hmm.
This is not going to happen. But then for me, it's almost a proving factor. Me telling myself, if I can do this, then I can do it. Like, I can do anything. Like, I've done it before, I can do it again. Kind of like proving to myself that I have the ability, showing myself I have the ability to do something. And then it's also the reward factor of like, how am I going to feel after I do this versus not doing it? So getting out of bed.
Cool.
If I don't want to get up, I'm like, well, what's going to happen? If I stay in bed for the next 4 hours watching TikToks and stuff and just doing this, how am I going to feel after that? I'm going to feel like shit. I'm going to feel like my eyes are going to be tired. I'm going to feel lazy. I'm going to feel unproductive. Yeah. Versus if I just say fuck it and get out of bed, start doing shit, eventually the energy will start coming naturally. Eventually I'll start building with some momentum, and then I'll feel so much better.
Yeah,
and
it's true.
I've been really trying to learn that instant gratification versus delayed gratification feeling of like, okay, this might not feel the best right now, but what's going to be like, kind of like you thinking about your future self. Your future self is going to be thanking this past version. Because at this point, being lazy, I'm not thinking my future me. I'm saying go fuck yourself to my previous me.
Yep.
I'm saying, why the hell did you stay in bed? It's literally 2 p.m. We haven't done shit. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yep.
That's all I'm saying versus those other days where I get up, I do shit. I'm like, yo, it's 2 p.m. I've already done like 4 days worth of work today. Like, I'm going to fucking relax for a little bit. I deserve this shit.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to see what kind of drives certain people, what drives other people. Yes, I do want a family and stuff, and I do want the life that I built today to kind of help that family I have later on. But I also just think like I want to be able to give my wife a good life, myself a good life. I want to be able to look back and be like, I hate the feeling that looking back and I'm like, I had so much fucking time. What was I doing with it?
Yeah.
Or I had so much energy. I had this, like, I don't want to be that old guy that's possibly disabled or something and be like, I wasted so much time and energy at this point.
Yeah.
That's kind of like almost a fear, I guess you would say, for mine. It's weird.
No, that's valid. That's valid. Yeah, it's one of those things, man. You just gotta do it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Just do it.
It's definitely a big discipline factor that you have to learn. And it sounds to me like you learned a lot of that, especially like from your mom and from your
And
parents and
sports,
stuff, and
yeah.
through sports. And so like it sounds like you kind of learned that little bit of discipline, which is phenomenal.
Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
But is there anything specific that you want to like shout out, or anything specific you want to make sure that gets noted?
I'd say shout out to Ruth and the Layton Agency. Appreciate you. Also PXG, all my folks. Much love, mom, family. Thank y'all, love y'all, and my girlfriend, of course. You get your special shout out. See you at home in about 30 minutes.
Heck yeah. Well, Mr. Greg Miner, thank you so much for being on. It's been an awesome conversation. I know we don't know each other entirely, like incredibly well, but it's been really awesome getting to know you a little bit more. Hopefully we get to work on some projects together.
Yes,
Hopefully, I'm excited to see what the future kind of holds and stuff, and I'm excited to see these projects and stuff that you're involved in. So with all that, I'm going to let you do your little signature that I told you about earlier.
All right. This is Greg Miner, and I've been unmasked.